Good evening YouTube, welcome back to the channel. If this is the first time you've joined me, I do all things motovlog in this Royal Enfield Himalayan. Now this evening I'm in Ayrshire, southwest Scotland, and I'm heading out towards the Galloway hills, Glentrool to be precise. Now I don't expect to see another biker on this road because we're going to go off-road a little bit. What's the time? Okay, it's 5 o'clock. So before I go riding off into the wilderness, I'm just going to find a little shop here, take some food with me, because once I go off-road I'm not going to find another shop for a couple of hours. Okay, something I can take with me, something simple, hopefully. Alcohol, nope. Okay, let's go. So as I said folks, tonight we're going to be going off-road a little bit. A lot of people seem to like these sort of history talks and stuff like that, so I'm going to incorporate some of that into this video. This road takes us to Loch Dee. We won't be going there today. It's a beautiful loch actually, a little castle at the far end, a great place for camping. But I'm going to be visiting at least 3 lochs today. So we'll skip past that one, we'll have a look at the next 3. St John's Town of the Rye. I quite like this little village. I come through it quite often, especially in the last year, but I never really take a lot of time to sort of stop, just like today. Wow, look at this. Very cool. When I started out in Ayrshire, it was a very sunny day, but I'm only about 20 miles south of where I live. We're riding this way into the clouds. Alright. Right folks, this is Clatteringshaws. Cool name. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to find this, come through New Galloway, heading towards Newton Stewart, and it's on that little road that you saw me come down there. You'll see Clatteringshaws Dam here. I don't know if you'll make this out in the camera. This is it here. You'll see this, it's on the right hand side. As you go past the dam, there's a little forestry track you can come up here. Now, it's still paved at this point, yeah, but that disappears. So the next stop on this trail is going to be Loch Dee, which is a few miles up the road. This little track here takes us over to Glentrool, or Loch Trool. It's lovely. Now you can come on a bike, just be careful of forestry vehicles and stuff like that. And it's very popular for hikers and stuff, so there's bothies and things on this route. You see people will camp down on these lochs and stuff. Now, Clatteringshaws, there was a little skirmish here, not a proper battle, but there was a little skirmish here between the Scots and the English, 1307. But as usual, I'm going to come back to that later in the video and tie it all in. We're off the tarmac now, and we're very firmly on loose gravel, these sort of forestry tracks. Ideal. I love the scenery around here. Holy goat, hello goat. A mountain goat, he's a beauty, eh? The size of those horns. Bye bye. I don't know who was more surprised, him or me. Oh wow, look round here, look at the sun. Oh, stunning. Where did that little goat go? He's off. Now we're in the lowlands of Scotland here, but I mean, I'm literally only maybe 30 miles from where I live in Ayrshire, but it feels very, very different, you know. It's very popular with hikers here. Now there's an old bothy here. Let's see if we can see it. It's called the White Laggan. Oh. How did he get out here? That's the question. Oh dear. And we've lost the road completely. It's all chewed up. Oh, what a place to go camping, eh? Glorious. There we go. I doubt the GoPro will pick it up, but the bothy's sitting right there on that hill. But it's made of the same stone that the mountains are made from, so it blends in. Let's cross the burn. There we go. There we go. Aha. Let's pull in up here. Wow. What a place. What a place. Let's just motor up here. Right folks, well the weather's changing, that's that rain starting to roll in. Now these bothies here, guys, they're very important. You'll find these dotted all around the wilderness in Scotland. They're kind of lifesaver type buildings. Now there used to be people's homes and crofts and stuff like that, and these buildings are now maintained by the Mountain Bothy Association, I believe they're called. You'll find them online on websites and stuff. And they save more than a few lives every year. I'm not exaggerating. They're mainly in Scotland. There's a handful of them in Wales, and there's a handful of them in sort of Northumbria and Cumbria in Northern England. But you know, they're mainly here in Scotland. And the reason why they're so important, just if you take me for example, it's going to be dark soon. If this bike decided to break down, then nobody's going to get out here in a hurry. And it's not like I would be too keen on hiking out here in the dark, you know. So give me a nice warm dry bed for the night, a fire. Now you always find as well, there's always like gas stoves and little kitchens and stuff, because people are very good, they tend to replenish these things. You usually find food and stuff as well. Now let's head down to the loch. Hopefully you can hear this alright. It's getting really quite windy. I'm headed through this pass here to Glentrool. There's some nice little hills here actually. It's really lovely. I've not seen anybody yet on this ride between Clatteringshaws and Glentrool, and I don't think I will, because coming this time of night people are starting to, you know, hunker down. If there's anybody out here, they'll be tented up already. I was up at White Laggan there, and there's nobody up there. These little bothies are sort of lifesavers. Last time I was in that particular bothy, I would have been a teenager. I'm not exaggerating, I would have been 15 or 16 years old, because me and my friends used to hike through this a lot when we were younger, over from Loch Dee and stuff like that. We'd stay in these bothies. A lot of the bothies that we used to stay in are no longer in existence. They're burnt down or the roofs blew off, and as I'm sure you can imagine, these are out in the wilderness, so you really need to look after them, because they're there. Okay, it's a free sleep, it's a free bed for the night, but they're really there for, you know, to protect people. They're there to save lives. A nice little loch, it really is a beauty. But that's a bit serious. Danger of death. Do not climb on timber stacks. That sounds like great advice, folks. Anything that says danger of death, proceed with caution. Would be my advice to you. Proceed with caution. Well folks, I really wanted to sort of talk about my upload schedule and what I'm intending to do with the channel. So I'm looking at creating sort of, at the moment, 4 sort of broad playlists, and in those playlists I'm going to have sort of 2 vlogs a week, similar to this, where I've been driving around in Scotland and further afield hopefully soon. So I'm going to upload those videos on a Thursday and on a Saturday, and then on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday I'm going to have a day that's devoted just to things that are happening to the Himalayan. You know, that could be like servicing or reviews, or I've still got things that I need to do to the bike. So I'll be putting one of those videos out every week, probably on a Tuesday. I'm going to be doing like gear reviews again, probably every Monday. So put those gear reviews out, a bit like what I did with the earplugs, you know, what gear I use, what camping equipment, that type of thing. And on a Sunday is going to be like my tips and tricks days, you know, for your adventure riders. Don't know if you can see this, just came past this little waterfall actually, see it on the hill. Now you won't see it in the GoPro, but this is actually a lot steeper. You know how the GoPro tends to flatten things out a little bit. It's quite a steep hill, so just let the engine do the work. A little bit of a steep hill up here. Make sure that gate's closed, should close itself. Let's check it. So this memorial, it's quite an old one, but this is the Bruce's stone in Glentrool. Now, it talks about a battle that happened here in 1307. So I'll just give you a little bit of information on that whilst we're here. This is Loch Trool behind me. It's really windy, hopefully you can hear it. The loch's quite long, it's long and narrow. It goes all the way up through the Glen here. So I've just come in through this pass here, past Loch Dee and Clatteringshaws Loch, where the story of this battle that happened here sort of began over there at Clatteringshaws. So Robert the Bruce in 1306 killed the Red Comyn, who probably had a better claim to the throne than he did, but he killed him in Greyfriars Abbey in Dumfries. Now the Comyn lands are just south of here. This is the sort of borderlands between what would have been Carrick then and Dumfries and Galloway. So these were Robert the Bruce's lands, or some of them, up all the way up into South Ayrshire. It's safe to say that the Bruce was having some problems. He'd been on the run for about a year actually. He'd been living out in the Scottish islands over to the west, because he had suffered a couple of defeats just almost directly after he'd taken the Scottish crown. He didn't have a lot of troops at the time, but he underestimated a man called Aymer de Valance, who was the Earl of Pembrokeshire. So he was defeated there up towards Methven and Perth, and then as he retreated he got as far as a place called Dalry. Now it's not Dalry in Ayrshire, it's Dalry in Argyll, and he was set upon by an army of Scots actually. At some point during that battle he was cut off, he was nearly captured. So the history of Scotland nearly changed right there and then. So anyway, he fled, spent his time in caves in Arran and all this sort of stuff. You'll have heard all the myths and legends about it, no doubt. So early 1307 he was back in the mainland, and he landed here on his own lands, you know, somewhere between Turnberry and Culzean. And he knew this area, but he didn't really have any troops. He needed some wins, but how do you win? How do you win a battle? How do you start to gain that confidence without many men? So he had a small force here hiding out in the hills here. And if we look behind me, he was camped down here actually. Now there was a small force of English over at Clatteringshaws, and they attacked him. It was a small skirmish more than anything. Anyway, news got back to Aymer de Valance. He was in Carlisle, and he knew that this is where the Bruce was camped, but the Bruce wanted him to know. He wanted him to come here because he knew this area. He'd been travelling overnight and hiding out during the day because he wanted to surprise the Bruce. Now the obvious route would have been to attack in that direction where I came in. He knew that the Bruce would see them coming for miles because they've got lookouts on these hills. We're actually closer to the English border here than you realise, but anyway. The Earl of Pembrokeshire was coming up from Carlisle, and he cut behind the loch here, and he decided to try and attack the Bruce along the loch side. I don't know whether they thought that he could sneak up on the Scots or if they wouldn't see him coming, but of course they knew. And the Bruce was actually standing right on this spot here. He directed the battle from here. Now of course they had to dismount their horses and this type of thing. You see this little road here? So those guys would have been going along this mountainside, single file. Perfect place for an ambush. So they start rolling boulders down and then they attacked right down into the middle of the English forces here, and they split them in half and they started to drive these guys back and then drive the front towards the other Scots forces who were here. So needless to say, it ended up being a real bad day for the English. If you've ever seen the Return of the Jedi, this was the Return of the King. This wasn't a huge battle, it was more of a skirmish than anything. But essentially the Bruce was back, you know, and this marked the sort of turning point in his campaign, because after this people started not to flock, it took time, but people started to join him. They started to get that belief again that they could do something about this occupation in Scotland. And this was March 1307, so a lot of things were to happen in the next 7 years leading up to Bannockburn, which was in 1314. Now folks, this was not the end of Pembrokeshire. He had survived this particular encounter and he was a very angry man. So this was to lead to a much larger battle about a month later, May 1307, over at Loudon Hill. It's not a million miles from here, it's about 25 miles, maybe 30 miles from here. And in my next vlog, that's where I'm going to visit.